They were originally intended to make us smile, to instill happiness into the souls of adults and children alike. And for the most part, they do. But some people find clowns to be especially frightening. Maybe it's their all-too playful nature, or maybe it's their sometimes twisted, elongated smile. One thing's for certain, through the years they've given us as many jolts as they have joys. Evil clowns are all the rage right now. They've never been more infamous or popular. A subversion of the traditional comic clown character, evil clowns are painted as disturbing and deadly through the usage of dark humor and horror elements. One of the main modern archetypes of the evil or killer clown was made popular by DC Comics. When they unleashed their mega popular character, the Joker, in the year 1940. Other popular killer clowns include Pennywise, who made his debut in Stephen King's 1986 novel, It. And most recently, Art the Clown from the 2016 indie cult hit, Terrifier. Nefarious clowns can often be seen playing off the sense of fright felt by those who suffer from coulrophobia, which is the fear of clowns. No one is sure of the modern archetype of the evil clown's origins. This kind of stock character appeared every so often during the 19th century, in works like as Edgar Allan Poe's Hop Frog. Evil clowns also took up residence in a small niche in drama, appearing in the 1874 work La Femme de Tabaran by Catulle Mendez, and in Ruggero Leoncavallo's Pagliacci, which in and of itself is accused of being a plagiarism of Mendez's piece. Both works feature murderous clowns as their central characters. During the 70s, the National Lampoon magazine published a series of mock comic books in the pages of their magazine, entitled Evil Clown. Their baddie was a malevolent and titular character known as Frenchie the Clown. Also within the same decade, American serial killer and rapist John Wayne Gacy became known as the Killer Clown when he was arrested in the year 1978. After it was discovered that he had chillingly performed at children's parties and other events as Pogo the Clown, it should be noted that Gacy did not actually commit any of his crimes while wearing his clown outfit or face paint. Upon the publishing of Stephen King's It back in 1986, the fear of an evil clown was reintroduced to a modern audience. It, also known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, is a pan-dimensional monster who feeds mainly on children by luring them in by pretending to be a friendly clown and then assuming the form of whatever its intended victim is most afraid of. Writer and journalist Joseph Derwin suggested in his 2011 article Coulrophobia and the Trickster, Derwin contends that the concept of evil clowns and the widespread hostility it induces is a cultural phenomenon which transcends just the phobia alone. The University of Sheffield conducted a study and came to the conclusion that clowns are universally disliked by children. Some found them quite frightening and unknowable. This could be attributed to the nature of a clown's makeup, which hides their faces by giving them anonymity. It's this very anonymity that makes them potential threats in disguise. Researcher Ben Radford published his book Bad Clowns back in 2016, and he is widely regarded as an expert on the phenomenon. Radford writes that by examining history, you can see that clowns are frequently seen as fools, tricksters, and more, but they are always in control. They can speak their minds and often get away with doing so. While writing Bad Clowns, Radford noted that professional clowns aren't at all happy about the bad, evil, or killer clown persona. For professional clowns, their malevolent cousins are seen primarily as the rotten apple in the barrel, whose ugly sight and smell cast suspicion on the rest of them. Pros have zero desire to encourage or perpetuate coulrophobia. But Radford found that bad clowns have existed all throughout history in the guises of the King's Fool, Harlequin, and the slap-happy Mr. Punch. Radford suggests that evil clowns have the ability to change with the times, and that modern evil clowns have evolved into what are now considered to be internet trolls. They don't wear clown costumes, but often hatefully engage with people for their own abuse, amusement, and tease while speaking about what they consider to be the truth, just like the court gesture and dip clowns do, using human foibles as tools against their targets. Radford has said that although bad clowns are everywhere in the media, in movies, TV, music, comics, and more, the good clowns outnumber the bad ones by an extremely wide margin. Research has indicated that most people are not afraid of clowns and actually love them. Bad clowns are the exception, not the rule. Cultural critic Mark Deary has hypothesized that postmodern archetype of the evil clown in his work Cotton Candy Autopsy, Deconstructing Psycho-Killer Clowns, which is a chapter in his cultural critique, The Pyrotechnique in Sanitarium. American Culture on the Brink. Using Mikhail Bakhtin's theory of the carnivalesque, Jungian and historical writings on the images of the fool in myth and history, and ruminations of the mingling of ecstasy and dread in the information age, Deary maintains that the evil clown is an icon of our modern times. Citing that clowns are frequently depicted as murderous psychopaths at many of America's most popular haunted houses, such as Universal Studios, Halloween Horror Nights. Researcher Wolfgang M. Zucker points out the similarities between a clown's appearance and the cultural depictions of demons and other infernal creatures by noting that a clown's chalk-white face in which the eyes almost disappear, while the mouth is enlarged to a ghoulish bigness, looks like a mask of death. Evil clowns have also become the stuff of urban legend. Real-life evil clown sightings are known as phantom clowns. These phantom clowns were originally reported back in the year 1981 in Brookline, Massachusetts. Many different kids in that area came forward about men who were dressed up as clowns, attempting to lure them into a van. It didn't take very long for panic to spread throughout the United States, throughout the Midwest and the Northeast. Phantom clowns resurfaced once again in the year 1985 in Phoenix, Arizona. In the year 1991 in West Orange, New Jersey. And in the year 1995 in Honduras. The most recent sightings in 2008 included Chicago, Illinois. No one knows who these phantom clowns were. Explanations for this very strange phenomenon have run the gamut from Stephen King's novel It and the heinous crimes of convicted serial killer John Wayne Gacy, to a moral panic influenced by concurrent fears of ritualistic satanic abuse. It should be stated that most cases, these phantom clown reports were made by kids, and that no adults or police officers have ever been able to confirm the sightings. During the year 2013, a person who became known as the Northampton Clown was repeatedly seen standing quietly around the English town. As it turned out, the Northampton Clown was actually the work of 3 local filmmakers, Elliot Simpson, Alex Powell, and Luke Ubansky. The Northampton Clown resembled Pennywise, the dancing clown from the Stephen King's It. Rumors spread quickly that the clown may be carrying a knife, and that prompted the clown himself to debunk these rumors via social media. In March of 2014, Matteo Moroni, owner of YouTube channel DM Pranks, who is based from Perugia, Italy, started dressing up as a killer clown to scare the hell out of unaware passers-by. His videos racked up hundreds of millions of views. In 2014, more complaints of evil clown pranksters were reported in the United States, Germany, and France, and it is believed that these evil clowns may well have been inspired by the FX television program American Horror Story Freak Show. The Wasco Clown attracted social media attention in California during the year 2014. This clown also shared a similar look to Pennywise. And it was later revealed that Wasco's social media postings were part of a year-long photography project that was being conducted by the artist's wife. A while later, menacing clowns, some with weapons, were reported in Bakersfield, California. Then during July of 2015, a creepy clown was seen lurking around a local Chicago cemetery, terrorizing anyone who came into the graveyard. 2016 was home to a fresh batch of phantom clown sightings in New York and in Greenville, South Carolina. Now that you've learned all about the phenomenon and backstory of evil, bad, phantom, and yes, killer clowns, let's take a look at some of the most well-known nefarious face painters. It's also known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, is the title character in Stephen King's 1986 horror novel It. The character goes beyond just being an evil clown. It is actually an ancient cosmic evil which preys upon the residents and children of Derry, Maine. About every 27 years, it resurfaces and rampages his way through the town's deepest and darkest fears, employing a variety of supernatural powers, including the ability to shapeshift, manipulate, and go unnoticed by adults. During a 2013 interview, author Stephen King stated that he came up with the idea for Pennywise after asking himself what scared children more than anything else in the world. King came to his realization that the answer had to be clowns. King came up with the thought of a monstrous troll, not unlike the one found in the children's tale, Three Billy Goats Gruff, who resided within Derry's sewer system. According to King's novel, it is a shape-shifting monster who frequently takes the form of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. It originated in a void that contains and surrounds the universe. In the book, this place is known as the Macroverse, a concept similar to the later established Todash Darkness of the Dark Tower novels. It made its way to prehistoric Earth during an asteroid impact, and upon its arrival, it made its home under the land that Derry would eventually be built upon. It originally preyed on indigenous tribes before making Derry its own personal feeding ground. It sleeps for approximately 27 to 30 years at a time and uses its time awake to wreak chaos and feed on human fear by assuming the form of whatever its victim fears the most. It has a sweet tooth for children, since their fears are easier to interpret in a physical form. It uses a victim's fears like you would a salt shaker. Fear seasons its prey before it kills them. It also possesses the power to manipulate people with weaker wills, making them indifferent to the horrific events that unfold or serve as unknowing accomplices. In several parts of the novel, it claims its true name is Robert Bob Gray and is named It by the Losers Club. Throughout the book, Pennywise is generally referred to as male, but the losers come to believe it may actually be female, with the human mind safely comprehending its true form as that of a horrific giant spider. However, its true appearance is briefly seen by the novel's main character, Bill Denbrough. During the ritual of Chud, when a mass of swirling destructive orange lights known as deadlights inflict insanity or death on any living being that directly stares into them. In King's novel and its original television adaptation, which starred Tim Curry as Pennywise, the only known person to survive staring into the deadlights ordeal is Bill's wife, Audra Phillips. But even then, she is rendered catatonic as a result of the experience. In the 2017 film adaptation It, and its 2019 sequel It Chapter 2, Pennywise is portrayed by Swedish actor Bill Skarsgård. While the first part of the adaptation is pretty much faithful to King's intended vision, the second movie in the series deviates from the book in terms of its final form. In the book and the end of the TV miniseries, Pennywise's final form is that of a mutated giant spider. In It Chapter 2, Pennywise appears to be more of a drider. Driders are centaur-like creatures that are found in the game Dungeons & Dragons. They're humanoid in appearance from the waist up, and their lower bodies replaced by the abdomen and legs of huge spiders. Pennywise may be the king of all evil killer clowns, but not even he has anything on the clown prince of crime himself, the Joker. This supervillain was created by Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson, and he appeared for the first time in the debut issue of the April 25th, 1940 edition of the comic book Batman, which is published by DC Comics. There's a bit of an internal dispute amongst the character's three creators as to who is responsible for his existence. Kane and Robinson have taken responsibility for the Joker's look and design, while acknowledging Finger's writing contribution. Originally, the Joker was going to be killed off during his initial appearance, but he was given a reprieve via editorial intervention. This has allowed the character to endure as the arch-enemy of the popular superhero Batman. As part of his many comic book appearances, the Joker has been portrayed as a psychopath with a warped, sadistic sense of humor, a criminal mastermind, and even as a goofy prankster in the late 50s in response to a regulation by the governing Comics Code Authority. In the early 70s, the character returned to his darker roots. The Joker has long been a part of Batman's defining stories, including the murder of his ward and second Robin, Jason Todd, and the crippling of one of Batman's closest allies, Barbara Gordon. Over the years, the Joker has had many possible origin stories, the most common of which sees him falling into a tank of chemical waste that bleaches his skin white and turns his hair green and lips bright red. It's this disfigurement which drives him insane. The Joker is considered by critics and comic book fans alike to be the perfect adversary of a character like Batman. The Joker doesn't have any superhuman abilities. Instead, he employs his expertise in chemical engineering and high intellect to develop lethal concoctions and to brand weaponry like razor-tip playing cards, acid-spraying lapel flowers, and deadly joy buzzers. On occasion, the Joker will work with other Gotham City supervillains, like the Penguin and Two-Face, or groups like the Injustice League or the Injustice Gang. At the end of the day, though, these relationships never last because the Joker is thoroughly crazy and he doesn't often play well with others. However, the decade of the 90s brought him a romantic interest. His former psychiatrist, Harley Quinn, who eventually becomes his equally as mad sidekick. The Joker has gone on to become one of the most iconic characters in popular culture and has been listed among the greatest comic book villains and fictional characters ever created. The Clown Prince of Crime was introduced in 1940's Batman #1. Upon his introduction, he announces that he intends to kill 3 of Gotham City's most prominent citizens, including its mayor, Henry Claridge. The police immediately tried to protect Claridge, but unbeknownst to them, the Joker had already poisoned him prior to making his announcement, and Mayor Claridge dies with a ghastly grin on his face, not unlike the Joker's own. As the issue goes on, Batman eventually beats him and sends him to prison. The Joker is known to perpetuate brutal yet whimsical crimes for reasons that, in Batman's words, make sense to him alone. It was 1951's Detective Comics number 168, which introduced the Joker's first origin story as a character known as Red Hood. Red was a criminal who vanished after jumping into a vat of chemicals to get away from Batman. Once he realized that his disfigurement left him resembling a Joker from a deck of playing cards, he adopted the title as his official name. The Joker's incredible popularity has led to him appearing on tons of merchandise, like clothing and collectibles, inspired by real-world structures like theme park attractions, and can be referenced in countless numbers of media. The Joker has appeared as Batman's nemesis in live-action movies and TV shows, animated cartoons, and video game incarnations. During the 1960s Batman television series, he was played by Cesar Romero. On the big screen, he's been portrayed by, and in films, by Jack Nicholson in 1989's Batman, by the late Heath Ledger in 2008's The Dark Knight, and by Jared Leto in 2016's Suicide Squad. Most recently, character was adapted into his own standalone film for 2019's Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix in the title role. Other notable actors have gone on to voice the Joker, including Troy Baker, and even Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. While Pennywise brought on the supernatural scares and the Joker is the all-around go-to clown lunatic, neither have matched the brutality of the newest killer clown on to ever wear floppy shoes or toot a horn. Art the Clown, from the 2016 slasher opus, Terrifier. Art originally appeared as part of a director Damien Leone's short films. Back in 2011, one of the shorts was even titled Terrifier. This moniker would also end up becoming the film's franchise's official title. In 2013, Leone's short films were assembled into an anthology film called All Hallows Eve. In that film and in the shorts, the role of Art the Clown was played by actor Mike Gianelli. By the time the feature film rolled out, Gianelli declined appearing as the nefarious character again, and the role was given to an actor with a miming background named David Howard Thornton. Thornton's experience as a mime brought the silent character to life in many maniacal ways. Terrifier follows the exploits of a relentlessly homicidal clown named Art, who terrorizes and kills his victims inside of a decrepit apartment building on Halloween night. Terrifier had its premiere at the Telluride Horror Show Film Festival back in October of 2016, before being picked up by Dread Central Presents and Epic Pictures for a limited theatrical release in March of 2018. Despite the chaos and carnage he causes, some of which has to be seen to be believed, Art the Clown has gone on to become an immediate icon in the horror movie scene, with fans getting tattoos, creating original artwork, and even painting murals of the character that can be found all over the world. There's no denying Art's popularity. And in February of 2019, Leone announced that he had finished the script for Terrifier 2, and Art the Clown was coming back to cause even more mayhem. Not all evil clowns have to be scary, and no other film proves that more than the 1988 cult classic, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a 1988 American science fiction horror comedy film, written, directed, and produced by the Chiodo brothers, and starring Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, John Allen Nelson, and John Vernon. It's the only film to be written and directed by the Chiodo brothers. The film is about a clan of evil aliens from an unknown region who all resemble circus clowns. They arrive on Earth and invade a small town in order to capture, kill, and harvest the human inhabitants to use as sustenance. Killer Clowns from Outer Space was filmed in Watsonville, California, and at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The film utilizes practical effects, including rubber suits. The score was composed by John Masseri. The film received generally positive reviews and has been considered a cult classic. A sequel has been in developmental hell since the original film's release, with Stephen Chiodo having stated that he hopes to produce a series of films with a total of 4 installments, or a television series based on the film. The Sci-Fi Channel announced on October 22, 2018, that it was in talks to purchase the rights to the film in order to produce a sequel. The film's original title was simply Killer Clowns, but the filmmakers added the words "from outer space" to prevent audiences from assuming the film was a slasher movie. Filming took place in the city of Watsonville and at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The film was Christopher Titus's first role in a motion picture. The popcorn gun used by the clowns in the film, which included a compressor that would allow the weapon to actually propel popcorn, was the most expensive prop made for the production, costing $7,000 to create and taking 6 weeks to build. The legs of the clown's balloon animal dog were coated in latex by the film's special effects department in order to keep the balloon from popping on the pine needles which covered the ground. While the Chiodo brothers were well known as special effects artists, much of the special effects work was carried out by other artists, allowing the brothers to focus more on their production duties. However, the brothers did personally construct the miniature set for the Clownzilla sequence. Most of the vehicles used in the film were rented and therefore were not allowed to be damaged. 2 cars were accidentally damaged. One was driven off a bridge, although it was only intended to roll a short distance, and the Jeep filled with webbing needed $3,000 of repairs after solvent in the webbing damaged the interior. The Chiodo brothers wanted to cast comedian Soupy Sales as the security guard killed by the clown's acidic pies, as he was known for receiving pies in the face on his children's television show, Lunch with Soupy Sales. However, the executive producers did not want to allocate funds to pay for Sales's plane ticket to the production, as they felt that audiences would not know who Sales was. Jojo the Clownzilla, the colossal clown who appears at the end of the film, was originally intended to be created using stop-motion animation, but was instead portrayed by Charles Chiodo in a rubber suit. In the film's original finale, Deputy Dave dies in the explosion of the clown's ship, but this was changed after audiences and test screenings desired a more upbeat ending. The Chiodo brothers plan on creating a sequel to the film, with the initial release date being scheduled for 2012, though it has since been postponed. In 2012, Grant Kramer, who starred in the original film, revealed that his character would make a return as a town drunk whom nobody believes. His character would serve as a mentor to young street performers who might use the killer clowns when they return. He described his character as somewhere between the energy of Chris Christopherson's character in Blade and Christopher Lloyd's character in Back to the Future. Like the original film, Stephen Chiodo is set to be the director and Charles Chiodo is set to produce, with production to take place over 30 years after the release of the original film. The time frame between films will be credited as the longest gap in release of films in horror comedy film series. Stephen Chiodo stated in March 2016 that, "Right now we are currently pursuing a long arc series for cable. We wondered, should we do a sequel to the first one or do we make a remake? We came up with a requel. It's a sequel and a remake. We've been developing this for a while. It's a trilogy in 4 parts, and it really follows the continuing adventures of new people who are experiencing this phenomenon of clown invasion." And once in a while, you see some of the old guys pop up and hear their stories. Find out what happened over the last 25 years. It's fucking great. Another killer clown who caused quite the ruckus on the small screen was Twisty from 2014's American Horror Story, Freak Show. Twisty the Clown, portrayed by John Carroll Lynch, originally was a slow-witted but gentle clown at a freak show in 1943. Jealous of his popularity, the freaks of the carnival spread rumors that he was a child molester and drove him away. With nowhere else to go, he returned home to Jupiter, Florida, only to find that his mother had died. After failing to support himself by selling toys made of junk to a local toy store, Twisty attempted suicide by putting a shotgun in his mouth. However, the attempt failed. He succeeded only in mutilating his lower jaw, and he later began to wear a grinning mask over the lower part of his face. Twisty then tried to perform as a clown at Elsa's Freak Show, but was turned away. Twisty then snapped and went on a killing spree, abducting children to be his audience while murdering their mean parents. He kidnaps Corey Bachman and murders his parents after kidnapping Bonnie Lipton to serve as his audience's babysitter. Gloria hires Twisty to entertain Dandy, who becomes his accomplice. Twisty and Dandy hold a magic show on Halloween. Before Jimmy knocks Dandy unconscious and Maggie gets Corey and Bonnie to safety, Twisty then knocks Jimmy out before encountering Edward Mordrake, who was attracted by the noise of the clown's performance. Twisty tells Mordrake his story, and Mordrake deems the clown suitable to be in his entourage of damned souls and kills him. When Elsa summons Mordrake in 1962, Twisty appears alongside the other freaks and comforts her in her last moments. According to director Ryan Murphy, Lynch was so terrifying as this character that half the time, almost a third of the crew left the set when they shot his scenes because they were afraid of him. In the 7th season, Cult, a comic book detailing a fictionalized version of Twisty, is owned by Oz Mayfair Richards. You now know about big screen killer clowns, small screen killer clowns, comic book killer clowns, and even killer clowns from outer space. But what about real life? Sometimes, reality is far scarier than anything any filmmaker or author can imagine. In 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube depicting a clown named Wrinkles emerging from beneath a young girl's bed. It quickly goes viral. In the following months, it emerges that Wrinkles is a professional clown in Florida who offers his services to the parents of misbehaving children, showing up to frighten them unannounced as a deterrent to future bad behavior. Stickers bearing Wrinkles' face and phone number begin appearing all over Florida, and thousands of people begin calling it for various reasons, from parents wanting to hire Wrinkles to people making death threats. Over the course of the next 4 years, Wrinkles becomes an object of folklore, both locally in Florida and across the United States, with children routinely calling the number, either alone or with friends as a sort of rite of passage. Additionally, further videos appear depicting Wrinkles either frightening people outside their homes or engaging in disturbing behavior, such as waving the motorist from a darkened roadside. In 2019, Wrinkles agrees to allow a documentary crew to follow him in his daily life and explain his philosophy. Wrinkles is revealed as an elderly homeless man who lives in a van in the woods outside of Naples, Florida, and spends much of his free time fishing, drinking, and going to strip clubs, occasionally using the money he makes from his appearances as Wrinkles to check into motels. He claims to have no personal ideology and states that he only works as Wrinkles for the money. Discussions with Wrinkles are intercut with interviews with a variety of individuals discussing the phenomenon, including a psychologist who debates whether Wrinkles' behavior is abusive. Folklore experts who compare Wrinkles to a contemporary Bloody Mary and other mythic rituals that figure prominently in American adolescence. A historian who explores the history of the evil clown trope, tying it back to Punch and Judy. And a professional clown unhappy with the recent negative attention that Wrinkles and the remake of Stephen King's It have brought to the profession. The documentary crew further discusses wrinkles with a number of children around America who have been impacted by his videos, from a young girl who wishes to fight him to an aspiring horror filmmaker inspired by Wrinkles' YouTube videos to begin conceptualizing his own movies. The documentary crew also examines the Wrinkles phenomenon in the context of the 2016 clown sightings. Midway through the documentary, it is revealed that the man the crew has been following is in fact an actor named D.B. Lambert, hired by the real Wrinkles, a Florida performance artist, to portray Wrinkles' secret identity. Wrinkles explains that both characters were created as a part of an elaborate art project. With his face blurred out, the real Wrinkles shows the documentary crew behind-the-scenes footage depicting the making of various Wrinkles videos. He further reveals that he has never actually gone to anyone's house, and that all the videos depicting Wrinkles frightening children were in fact made with the participation of actors. Wrinkles expresses satisfaction with the impact the project has made while contemplating its future and the role it has had in contemporary American pop culture. That's pretty frightening, but nowhere near as frightening as the story of John Wayne Gacy. Gacy was an American serial killer who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and 1978 in Cook County, Illinois, a part of metropolitan Chicago. All of Gacy's known murders were committed inside his Norwood Park ranch house. His victims were typically induced to his address by force or deception, and all except one of his victims were murdered by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a makeshift garrote, as his first victim was stabbed to death. Gacy buried 26 of his victims in the crawl space of his home. 3 other victims were buried elsewhere on his property, while the bodies of his last 4 known victims were discarded in the Des Plaines River. Convicted of 33 murders, Gacy was sentenced to death on March 13, 1980, for 12 of those murders. He spent 14 years on death row before he was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10, 1994. Gacy became known as the Killer Clown because of his charitable services at fundraising events, parades, and children's parties where he would dress up as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, characters that he had created. Following Gacy's marriage to Carol Hoff, his new wife and stepdaughters moved into the Summerdale Avenue house. Gacy had quit his job as a cook and started his own construction business, PDM Contractors, PDM being the initials for painting, decorating, and maintenance. The business initially undertook minor repair work, such as sign writing, pouring concrete, and redecorating, but later expanded to include projects such as interior design, remodeling, installation, assembly, and landscaping. By 1978, the gross of PDM's annual turnover was over $200,000. In 1973, Gacy and a teenage employee of PDM Contractors traveled to Florida to view property Gacy had purchased. On the first night in Florida, Gacy raped the youth in their hotel room. As a result, This youth refused to stay in the same hotel room as Gacy and instead slept on the beach. Upon returning to Chicago, this employee drove to Gacy's house as he was in his yard and beat him. Gacy's mother-in-law stopped the youth from further attacking Gacy and drove away. Gacy explained to his wife that the attack happened because he had refused to pay the youth for poor quality work. His neighbors in Norwood Park considered Gacy gregarious and helpful. He was active in his local community and hosted annual summer parties beginning in 1974. He also became active in Democratic Party politics, initially offering the labor services of his PDM employees free of charge. Gacy was rewarded for his community services by being appointed to serve upon the Norwood Park Township Street Lighting Committee. He subsequently earned the title of Precinct Captain. In 1975, Gacy was appointed director of Chicago's annual Polish Constitution Day Parade. He supervised the annual event from 1975 until 1978. Through his work with the parade, Gacy met and was photographed with First Lady Rosalind Carter on May 6, 1978. Through his membership in a local moose club, Gacy became aware of a Jolly Joker Clown Club, whose members would regularly perform at fundraising events and parades, in addition to voluntarily entertaining hospitalized children. In late 1975, Gacy joined the Jolly Jokers and created his own performance characters, Pogo the Clown and Patches the Clown. Gacy designed his own costumes and taught himself how to apply clown makeup. Although some professional clowns noted the sharp corners Gacy painted at the edges of his mouth are contrary to the rounded borders that professional clowns normally employ, so as not to scare children. Gacy is known to have performed as Pogo or Patches at numerous local parties, Democratic Party functions, charitable events, and at children's hospitals. He is also known to have arrived dressed in his clowning garb at a favorite drinking venue named the Good Luck Lounge. On several occasions, with the explanation he had performed at a charitable event and was stopping for a social drink before heading home. Gacy stated that acting as a clown allowed him to regress into childhood. By 1975, Gacy told his wife that he was bisexual. After the couple had sex on Mother's Day that year, he informed her this would be the last time they would ever have sex. He began spending most evenings away from home, only to return in the early hours of the morning with the excuse he had been working late. His wife observed Gacy bringing teenage boys into his garage and also found gay pornography and men's wallets and identification cards inside the house. When she once confronted Gacy about who these items belonged to, he angrily informed her the property was none of her business. They divorced by mutual consent in March 1976. Even with all that information, do you know what the scariest thing about the killer clown phenomenon is? It's that it is far from over. Killer clowns will no doubt be haunting us for years to come. They can be anywhere, anytime, waiting, watching. Dare you accept their invitation to play?